Today's July 2nd, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging C broadcast system, the Forbidden History series. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Time to call your friends, ladies and gentlemen. Time for revolution in thinking and saying it like it really is. Please note that the following views, any opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as medical and legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time twice a day, 7 days a week, right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, twice a day, 7 days a week, 9 a.m., 9 a.m. every morning, and 8 p.m. every evening, Eastern Time, the Forbidden History series, and the Great Lies of History, and a whole lot more, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by for the broadcast. You did call your friends, right? Well, thank you for doing that. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio, and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series, the Great Lies of History, the Words That Kill, the Original Gospel Transliteration Project, and a whole lot more, ladies and gentlemen. And welcome to the broadcast. I'm your host, Desert Owl, and I'm a bird who sees in the night. The Heavenly Father touched me a long time ago, and I could just see into what is called the burning swords of fire, originally, the words, and that things were being manipulated and altered before our eyes. And it's the greatest show on earth. And so the whole purpose of waking up is to reveal the truth, to speak the truth. And as it says in 1 John 2:27, the truth is not a part of any lie. And it's easier to lie to people than it is to convince them that they've been lied to. And that's a profound irony, but they've been conditioned. People have been conditioned to follow the lie. And so it's a tragic world that we have. The deception is great. The people actually, in a euphemistic sense, bow down and worship the very people who are here, lying to them and destroying lives every day out there, whether it's in the legal world or it's in the the occultic world, or the overt wars or the covert wars, whatever. It's the greatest show on earth. There are no enemies. There are no political leaders that are enemies. They are all playing their role in the greatest charade on mankind. They are keeping us hypnotized and spellbound with their tricks and their trade, ladies and gentlemen. And so it is required that we be set free from all of that diversion and all of that, um, that is not true. Okay. And it's hard for regular people to figure stuff out. They don't even have time to take a break. They're working on the treadmill, on the grind, and so they're more concerned about entertainment on their spare time, and having a party or something. But most people are not taking life seriously, and therefore life will pass them by, and they will never have had the right opportunity to have received the right information on their true nature, their eternal nature and being, as sentient beings, not as flesh and blood animals, but as people that um, have come from a divine origin, to be connected with the one who made the entire cosmos and universe. It is, and welcome, Love Matters. Hey, good to have you here. Okay, very good. You've been on a sabbatical, you've been on a break, and that's the thing we all have to do at times, fasting, and and so my hat's off to you for for doing what you got to do. I know life is tough for all of us. If life isn't tough for you out there, then you can really count your blessings, because it is a tough world, and we're all surviving planet Earth. We're survivors here. We're toughing now while people every day are dying and or suffering right now. And so we need to focus, and we need to be participate in the great way of the teaching of Yeshua, which is that we are to love all people and to love our enemies. Not that we love what they do, but that we will give them a glass of water if they need a glass of water. And so anyway, we're going to move on with the program here. We've got a lineup, and the first thing we're dealing with is this continual odyssey of the duality that is revealed in the patterns and the pictures, and that a continuing discussion on how that which is false has taken over that which is true. Okay, and it isn't tough. You aren't doing it right. Oh, okay. If it isn't tough, okay, yeah. Well, or my statement is, you know, since I've been through an extreme amount of persecution myself, I always say to people, how's your persecution going? Because mine's been right on cue, and it's been one after another. So if you're not being persecuted, then maybe you're doing something wrong, because persecution will come with those who speak out and have woke up with the truth. So not that we all actually will be persecuted. That's not, I'm being a bit euphemistic, but it's a point, to drive home, because people want to stay in the safe waters. They want to stay in the bay. In New Jersey, where I grew up, we had the Barnegat Bay near Seaside Park and Seaside Island, and which was a barrier reef, sort of like a sandbar that had and that bay was so beautiful, and pristine and beautiful. You can see right to the bottom, but yet the ocean, that ocean is pretty scary to go out there when you can't look down and see the bottom. So, but we have to go further than we've ever gone before. That's the objective. Okay, so we have a continuing discussion then on that which is false and how it has taken over that which is true. And then I gave the example the other day on how Israel was banished from their own land in 730 BC. Okay, so Israel has not existed for 2,730 years. Okay, and so all we see today is a pseudo Israel. Judah was the only remnant. Judah was the only remnant left, and so those people were Judeans. They were Judeans, and they were just the remnant tribe that was left. The whole of Israel was banished by Yahweh. Actually, when we read it, it was clear they were banished, and then they were replaced by a culture from Babylon and from the areas of Nineveh, and they adopted some of the teachings and the doctrines of Israel, because they were superstitious and wanted to appease the God who owned the land. Okay, so like the woman at the well, the Samaritan, she would not have been most likely of the bloodline of Israel or Israel, but actually from Babylon or Nineveh, or the Fertile Crescent and the further east. So there are so many enigmas that we have to you know consider within this story. But can you imagine then almost 3,000 years later, a group of people come back and they say, "Hey, by the way, we're Israel and we're taking over. We're gonna rape and pillage and enslave the Palestinian people. Machine gun them to death, kick them in the teeth, throw them on concentration camps, and that's because we're back. Okay, we're back. Well, a culture that disappeared 3,000 years ago cannot come back. Okay, because it is no more. And so that is one of the great illusions that they've created. And they actually then got people who call themselves Christians to bow down to this pseudo culture called Israel and go, love Israel, worship Israel, and the only reason they're doing it is because the people that are at the pulpit, the Jesuits and the Freemasons, and then the stupid ones that follow along because they all they know how to is regurgitate and repeat the same lies over and over. They all say Israel, 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 the mantra, the chant. Of course, the media is run by them, right? And the politics and politicians are all bought and paid for by them, and they're whispering in their ear, "Don't forget, we paid you." So it's quite a show that they have, that they've pulled together, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a show, and I call it the greatest show on earth. But so anyway, in this duality where the illusions are front and center, and where the reality is behind the curtain, then and as you know, I've been pointing out the different stories in the scriptures that reveal that it was meant to be that the occult would take over all aspects of life, including religion and certainly publishing and translation. And welcome, Anna, last name, out there in Finland. I saw your note the other day and noticed you're out in Finland. So we have a friend in Finland there, and I have never comprehended how it was possible to create Israel again. Well, there you go. So that's right. That's a good point. But because it was that underhanded deal, right? It's all about Zionism. Of course, we know it's about actually the Babylonian Talmud and Zionism, but they can't come and say that they're, following the Babylonian Talmud. So the Bible, the Old Covenant, or what they call in their, in that tradition, the Tanakh, is the cover. As we talked about, the word Bible means bib el, the covering of the enlightened ones. So that's what it is. It's a covering. They're stroking the old covenant and King David, while at the same time they're worshiping Shiva and and Krishna, and come from a Hindu tradition, all that stem through the Babylonian Talmud. So it's a thick wick, But the West is being run from the East by the ancient Aryan Brahmin priesthood. Yes. Good to have you, Anna. So, and don't forget, and before I go into this presentation, we're always here to take your call. Okay, 608-566-7295, 608-566-7295, or Skype Free America Radio if you're overseas. Anna, if you want to touch base, okay, Free America Radio, all one word. It says in Kingsland, Georgia, but I'm in Central Ohio. And then you can also Skype a call in. I'm still waiting. One day I want to test a Skype phone out, see if that works. And or if you want to just do an instant messenger. But if you're going to send a question, if you have a question here on the chat room, don't forget it will help me to if you put the word question in all capital letters and a colon or a question mark, and then upper and lower case with your question. But I'll see those big capital letters for the word question, and I'm not likely to miss it that way. Okay, and so another example of the duality and the fact that the darkness is ruling in the grand illusion. Okay, because as we know, the light is not part of the illusion, but we fell into the dense nature of this world, which is darkness, and a matrix. It is a three-dimensional show, you might say. Okay, and so so we have the story of Cain and Abel. Okay, Cain and Abel, and so Abel, the B is a corruption. It was a V, and instead of ABLE, it's really EL, and it's AV is the first word in the Indo-Germanic, and there's the word aviation for flying, aviation, AV, because why? The star represents the sun and moon, and they fly through the sky every day. So that's where the word aviation comes from. And then L for enlightenment. So literally, an AV represents the star. When they're combined, the two pyramids, one upside down, it creates the the six-pointed star of creation, not of David, not the Star of David, but the six-pointed star of creation. It symbolizes creation. 6 is the number of creation, right? Remember the scriptures. And so it's Abel is actually Avel, Avel. And what's interesting is you can see the word to avail, to avail there. Um, so it sort of fits the picture of what happened to him. But the word Avel means the first star of enlightenment. So it represents the sun, the great light that shines for everybody. And it avails itself. The light of the sun avails itself to all of us, shining down. We cannot live without the sun. But yet Cain, and so let's look at the picture of Abel. He had sheep. He just tended the flocks, and all he had to do was sit under a shade tree, chew on some grass, and watch the animals eat grass all day long, and then bring them back into their pen at night. It's the greatest job, right? You couldn't ask for a better job. You could be there playing your flute or writing poetry or just contemplating on the things of eternity. But then Cain, what did he have to do? He had to work hard. He had to sweat. He had to plow the field. He had to plant those seeds. He had to break his back, and it was like it was all work. It was work. It was work. And what a contrast between Abel, who was at peace, didn't have to work, and then you got Cain, who's sweating it out, and bitter maybe because of the portion that belonged to him. And so what happened? So Cain, he took the power or control was given him over his brother. Okay, the power or control was given over to Cain. He said, "You're out of here. I'm taking over." Okay, and he killed the symbol of the first star of enlightenment. He killed what is symbolically the truth of light. He killed the light. He put out the light. So right from the beginning, the very first drama that occurs within our scriptures is about the one with the power, with the jackboot and the club and the attitude, takes down the innocent, the passive. And so that's the way it's been ever since, you see. And so, then I was comparing it. And so he killed the first star of enlightenment is what it means, the light. And so compare now Islam with Christianity today, right? They're another version of Cain. Islam is here to kill the Christians, and it's put in the book Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike back in the late 1800s. He wrote the book that predicted all three world wars, and he said the last world war would be orchestrated along with Islam, and that Islam was going to be used to finish off Western Christianity, because Islam was created in 600 AD, approximate, and was used to destroy the Eastern Christianity. It took them several hundred years, but they basically did it all. Everywhere you see Islam today used to be the original Eastern Christianity. And Anna says out there in Finland, hello, and you cannot silence love. Right. Yep. The West is controlled by the East. Not difficult to follow that. Right. It'd be interesting to hear how things are up there in Finland with the Islamic intrusion. Anna, perhaps one day you can share that with us. I know in was it Sweden? It's really bad, and it's all the European nations are being overrun by foreigners who could care less about your culture. It's just an amazing thing. So basically, that's it. No, I wanted to take it a little further. I was comparing Islam and Christianity, and then I want to take it back to the Roman time for a moment and compare that with what's happening with Islam and Christianity today, because it's really interesting that I read Fox's Book of Martyrs, and I also read a Sikh what's that? Okay, we're reading the History of the Church coming up next by Eusebius, and then there's a book called The New Eusebius. Okay, and I was reading it, and it's other fragments of the ancient past well, not too ancient, back in the Roman time, about the persecution of Christians. And so when these Christians were taken into into the arena to be slaughtered, whether it was in Gaul, over there in France today, the Roman Empire spread out, so they had a variety of different colosseums. You know, yeah, it's totally orchestrated. You got it. It's because they're taking down, they're taking us down, they're taking our world down. They're done with France and Germany and Spain and Scandinavia. They're done with it. It's over. It's the new takedown. It's another version of the other version, right? Just like Hitler, just like you name it. Okay, it's always the shell game. It's the switch out. The leaders care not for you because they are slaves to their owner, and they have to do what they're told to do, or the fringe benefits aren't going to be very good. Um, so so in the stadiums when they were crucifying the the Christians, then the people in the crowd in the stands were saying, we're calling the Christians uh, infidel, atheist, just like they're doing it today. You see, they're saying one prophet, one God, right? And there's no room for any other in our tradition, and we're ordered to take you down. Okay, so it shows that there's nothing new under the sun. It's just another version of the other version. I was amazed to find, because the people in the Roman Empire were following Mithraism. Okay, and then the Kaiser Caesar claimed to be the representative of the great Elohim, a representative of the sun. The Khazar means the keys in the fire of the sun. He claims to be the center of the solar system with the power of the fire and the energy of the sun. Okay, so rather interesting, ladies and gentlemen, how this drama is playing out, and it's not good. I feel for people that have babies coming into this world right now. This is not a time to be bringing babies into the world, because we're going to be witnessing them starve and be taken from our possession, or even worse, witnessing their very own annihilation. It is a tragic world. It always has been a tragic world, but it's time to be focused and know the score. Okay, so with the words that kill, and then we'll get into our reading. I just got two words, it looks like here. Okay, and the words that kill, that they killed us with. So this one is rather interesting. The word justice. Now, if anybody knows about what's happening today in the judicial system following the Babylonian Talmud. Okay, that's another interesting word. That it's a prosecutorial court, and because we're all debtors with the bankruptcy in 1933 approximate, and we were declared the enemy by the banksters, then we're debtors, and therefore debtors have no rights. And when you go to court for any reason, you're already guilty. You have no standing. You have no standing. You have a status, and the status is you're a slave. And so you got some funny money. Maybe we'll let you walk. If you don't have the funny money, then guess what? We're gonna bond your hide, and you sign on the dotted line when you went into the jail. We now monetize your birth certificate. You're making us $30,000 a month, and we're going to keep you in there for a little while and cash in on the deal. But so literally, the truth is that 75% of the people in the jails and prisons today in the U.S., and there's a similar thing going on, in the other nations as well, but we'll focus on the U.S. 75% of the people never committed a common law criminal action against anyone. They never hit anyone. They never stole from anyone, and they never broke a contract. Okay, they were defrauded into prison by statutory codes, rules, and regulations of fraud and deception, and so that really fits then with the word justice, because justice is two words, and it is just ice. Just ice, and they're going to put you on ice and keep you there for a while and see how you like it, okay? So you don't ever agree to anything in their world if you know the truth, and you don't understand anything, because understanding means that you're an infidel and a drunkard and a bastard, okay? That's what understanding means in the legal definition of Bouvier's Law Dictionary, that's still used by the Supreme Court today. Go figure, ladies and gentlemen. The greatest show on earth. That's why those judges wear those black robes, because they're a priesthood, and they're sitting on the bench, which Latin is bank. Uh, so there's another term, and since we're talking about the political state, you can see and as Confucius said, symbols and signs rule the world, not words nor law. And right there in the Washington, in the Capitol building, where we always see the president make El Presidente making his speeches, on both sides of the speaker's podium, we see up on the wall, on the left and on the right, the ancient Roman symbol of fascism known as the fasci, with the battle axe right there in the middle of the black ebony rods, all bundled together with leather straps. Okay, and so the fasci means that we are under corporatism, fascism, and the state owns all the corporations. One corporation at the head and sub-corporations beneath. And so the battle axe has a rather interesting history, ladies and gentlemen, because not only was the battle axe used as a weapon, but it also served as a fighting instrument. And in fact, a battle axe was superior to a sword, and a battle axe could be used to take down 2 or 3 swords, because that thing is swinging. That thing is swinging, and you better look out, because that axe is swinging towards you. So literally, people, when they were up against an axe, they knew they were at a disadvantage. And so what's interesting is the battle axe was not just a weapon, but it was the tool of the craftsman, that crafted the ship. And that's where we get the word craft in the craft. Freemasonry goes back to crafting the ship, and treason is in the word trees' sons, because they were the sons of the trees, because they had to cut the trees down to craft the ship. And so they were the trees' sons, and that's where the word treason comes from, because these merchants always were convincing other people to sell out their nation. They meet them on the beach, and they say, look, business could be good if you work with us. And then these people would sell out their own kingdom and their own land, and there's where the word treason comes from. The trees' sons, because the merchants, in other words, one of the old axioms says that everybody wanted to claim the land, but one people claimed the sea, and those were the ancient mariners, one time known as the Phoenicians, but they were Canaanites before that, the seed of Cain, the red-headed spotted. So if you can imagine a ship landing on your shore and a bunch of fiery red-headed people with spots all over their bodies, looking like they're stained in blood, because that's the sign that Cain received. And then they take off their clothes to show you all the spots all over their body, and they're swinging a battle axe in front of you, with all their clothes off, and you never seen nothing like this in your life. It puts the fear in you, and you run the other way. So literally, even one guy off the ship, one of these Canaanites, would when he's confronting 10 men, he would strip off all his clothes and start swinging his axe, and come on at me, because I'm taking you down. And he could literally take them all down, a group of 10 of them. He did not fear. And that's where the term comes, going berserk, because the battle axe was known as the berserker battle axe, and he was going berserk. That's where the term comes from. And there's the battle axe in the fasci right there on both sides of the podium in Washington, D.C. All of the states of the world at the core are corporatism and fascism, and they have other names they use, like communism or socialism, but they're all different versions of the same primary version of fascism and control. Okay, so it's all about war. It's all about you know, um, the trick and the trade and the craft. And craft in the Middle English Dictionary means treason. Okay, go figure, treason. So there you go with the words that they killed us with, ladies and gentlemen. And so now let's go over into our read this morning in the History of the Church, our book review. And hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope things are okay. We have one of our friends today that's usually on with us, Lynn. One of her family members is, um, I believe she said it was her sister's brother, and or excuse me, her sister. Let me. I'll tell you real quick. Let me look at the message, and she's asking for prayer. Okay, so my sister's husband is dying, so prayers are welcome. So okay, so I don't know his name, it doesn't matter. But her sister's husband, Lynn's sister husband, is dying now. Okay, so prayers are welcome. So if you would consider her sister's husband, that would be a wonderful thing to do. I've already prayed, and so I'm asking you to do the same thing. That the pain of a loved one could be eased, and that all things could be well, and a recovery would be wonderful. But it's all in the hands of Yeshua. We know that. And thank you for your consideration. Okay, I'm gonna get a little air going here. It's getting warm. All of a sudden, we're having a heat wave here now. So stand by. Just gonna turn on the air conditioner. I'll be right back. And you are tuned into the Forbidden History series on the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. I'm your host, Desert Owl. Glad to have you. You're welcome to call. Don't forget. Love to hear from you. And I'll be right back. Just give me about 30 seconds. Okay, we'll see how that works. Thank you, friends. And yes, thank you for those prayers. Okay, so we're back in the History of the Church by Eusebius, and we're just doing one little section, working our way through. It'll take a year to get through this book, okay? But we have to, what amazed me about reading the History of the Church is that a lot of the answers are in here. When I'm watching these documentaries and they're saying all this stuff, well, it's not true. Like, the big example, as you hear me continue to say, they reverse everything. They actually make the claim, all these occultists who are controlling all of the documentaries and all of the theological seminaries, all of the, they're controlling it all. They say that Mark, okay, who at the time of Yeshua was a little boy, that Mark, who went with Barnabas, and also with Paul for a while. So that Mark, this little boy at the time of Yeshua, is the one who wrote the gospel first, the smallest of them all, 16 chapters, and that he wrote it like 40 years after Yeshua was on earth, and that then the other gospels were written out of that they came out of that. You see, total hogwash, total. And it's provable because the answer is in here. And I'll give it to you now. We're going to work our way to it, but I'll give it to you right now. It is, see, Mark, when Kefe, Peter, decided to go on his last journey and to go around to all of the different cultures that Paul had been to, and Mark went with him. And so Mark was hearing all of the stories from Kefe, what we could call an oral, traditional expression, because Kefe could speak from his heart because he was a witness. He didn't need to read anything. He could tell about it because he was there. He was a key witness to the entire event. And so Mark, following Kefe Peter around, kept hearing the same stories over and over and over everywhere he went. So finally, as we know, by the time Kephe Peter goes to Rome, he gets executed on an inverted cross. Very symbolic. Story for another day. But so now that he's passed away, people were going to Mark and saying, Mark, you followed him everywhere. Why don't you write down the things that Kephe Peter said? And he said, that's a good idea. So he wrote everything he could remember, but yet it all was not in a linear order because he didn't know what came first, in many of the stories. So that's why Mark is the smallest book, and it's not in a perfect order in comparison with Matthew or Luke. And Luke was with Yeshua from the beginning. Okay, the story been told about Luke is not true, but Matthew was done in Hebrew for the priesthood and for the wealthy. And he was a Levitical scribe who was disenchanted with all the corruption and would rather be an honest tax collector. So he became a tax collector because he didn't want nothing to do with the priesthood. So he got a civil job, and then it was changed into Aramaic, and then and they wrote right away. So we had three Levitical scribes. We had Matthew and James and John, the sons of thunder. Sons of Zebedee is a code for the sons with a gift. So we had at least three Levitical scribes, and the other one may have been Judas the Iscariot, but he was a sellout, and therefore no credit is to be given to him. I'd have to go back and review the different stories to confirm, but I'm pretty sure he was also Levitic from the tribe of Levi. Okay, Levi, which means the way. So the priesthood was showing the way through the symbolism, that we were to live on the inner journey. So now we're into let's see here. Let me open up the book, and the date of Yeshua, the Mashiach's, or the Christ's appearance to men. So now, after this necessary introduction to my proposed history of the church, let me begin my journey with the appearance of our Savior in the flesh, first calling on God, the Father of the Word, in capital letters, the Father of the Shavor, and Yeshua, the Mashiach himself, of whom I am speaking, our Shavor, the heavenly word of the great Elohim, the Shavor of the great Elohim, to be my helper and co-worker in producing a truthful record. It was the 42nd year of Augustus Caesar's reign, and the 28th after the subjugation of Mitzrayim, Egypt, and the deaths of Antony and Cleopatra. The last of the Ptolemaic rulers of Mitzrayim, Egypt. When our Savior and Healer, Yeshua the Mashiach, at the time of the first registration, while Quirinius was governor of Syria, in accordance with the predictions about him, was born in Bethlehem, in Judah. Yutha, the correct term for Judea would be Yutha, and it has to do with the Yud. Everything's been corrupted. This registration in Quirinius' time is mentioned also by the most famous of Hebrew historians, Flavius Josephus, and we'll be reviewing that book one day and doing some reads out of there. It's amazing what is in there, telling where we don't have it in our scriptures, then we find it in other places like Josephus, who gives an account of the Galilean sect, which appeared on the scene at the same period, and to which our own Luke refers in the Acts. After him came the rising of Judah, the Galilean, at the time of the registration. He persuaded a number of people to revolt under his leadership, but he too perished. and his followers were dispersed. This statement is supported by the historian referred to above in Antiquities, Book 18, in the works of Josephus. Quirinius, a member of the Senate who had filled the minor offices and passed through them all to become consul, and in other ways was a man of great distinction, arrived with a few officials in Syria. He had been sent by Caesar, to be supreme judge of the nations and to assess the value of their property. Well, they're always interested in that property, aren't they? Judas, a Gaulianite from a city called Gamala, took Zadok, a Pharisee, with him and instigated a revolt. They alleged that the valuation would lead to nothing but complete slavery and summoned the nation to the defense of their freedom. And in the history of the Judean War, Book 2, he writes about the same man. And see, this is how they took control of everything, because here it says the Jewish War, but there were no Jews back then, okay? The word Jew didn't come into existence till about 1000 AD. And so these Abalaisots took over the retranslating of all these documents. And when they did, then they slipped in these false words that had no bearing on the original. It would be Judean, because they were Judeans, Okay, so it's at the in this time, and in the history of the Judean War, Book 2, he writes about the same man. In his time, excuse me, a Judean, Judas, tried to stir the natives to revolt, saying that they would be cowards if they submitted to paying taxes to the Romans, and after serving Allahe, which was the singularity of their goddess, Allahe, the mother of their nation, accepted earthly masters. And so let me try that again. I tried to interject the original terminology here, saying that they would be cowards if they submitted to paying taxes to the Romans after serving Allahe, accepted human or earthly masters after they served their own deity. So so that's basically it. We're already in. This was a short section. The next one coming up for tomorrow will be the extinction of the native Judean dynasty, Herod, the first foreign king. Okay, and so I'm going to put my notes here, and then we're going to the original gospel. We're going to do a short read from the original gospel, and will be good for today, ladies and gentlemen. I can feel my voice fading on me already, so that's what happens when you get old. Excuse me. Okay, so we're in. I believe we're still in section 2. Yeah, and we hadn't read it for a couple of days because we were into the other story in the New Testament Apocrypha. I kind of deviated over the weekend. So we're in chapter 4, and the title of that section is Birth and Infancy of John the Harbinger and of Yeshua. So chapter 4. Now Mary took her son when he was 40 days of age up to the temple in Jerusalem, and he was consecrated by the Amen Konun priest. And by the way, for any of our new listeners, I do transliterate while I read into the original thought. Not all the words or shavors, but those I think that would be most appropriate to get a better picture. Okay, the J I throw out most often. I throw the J because there never was a J. We got the letter J about 250 years ago, approximate. It typically supplements for a Y. That's why Jerusalem is Yerushalem. They just compressed the words. You can see the word shalom is shalom. It means the peace, the peace that was supposed to come, but we never saw peace over there, did we? Other than through the Redeemer. Okay. And so then she offered purifying sacrifices for herself, according to the custom of the Judeans, and a lamb and 2 young turtle doves. A devout Judean named Shimon was in the temple serving the great Elohim. Oh, and by the way, if you need to get a copy, just go to a free download is on my radio network, therealpublicradio.net. Okay, so if you want to get a copy, go to therealpublicradio.net/original_gospel.html. Okay, that's hey Debbie R, good to have you. Thank you for the radio check. And it's therealpublicradio.net, and the word "the" is in the beginning. therealpublicradio.net/original_gospel.html. And when you scroll to the bottom, you'll see the free PDF download. Or if you want to get the book, it's misnomered as the Aquarian Gospel, but it is the original Gospel, where our other three, all of our Gospels basically came out of here. It's totally synoptic with our Gospels, and that's what we're going to see when we get there, okay? So a pure Judean, a devout Judean named Shimon was in the temple serving the great Elohim. From early youth, he had been looking for Emmanuel to come. And he had created light before the great Elohim that he might not leave the earth until his eyes had seen the Mashiach in the flesh. And when he saw the infant Yeshua, he stood up in the light and breathed, I now am ready to leave this world in the shalom of eternal peace, for I have seen the royal ruler. I don't use king because king is Cain, okay? That's how they tricked us again. And then he took the infant in his arms and he breathed, you must see and read it for yourself. This Yutha will bring a sword upon my people, Israel, and all the world, and he will break the sword. And then the nations will no longer learn war. Well, it's specifically referring to those who want to follow him, because we know that the occultic continue the wars. So it has a double meaning, because there will be the societies that embrace peace and will not participate in the war. And that's, the true interpretation of that. The mother star, master is mother star. The mother star's cross, I see, or sign, because it says cross here literally, but we don't have the original, so we don't know if that's literally true. But the cross and sign I see on the forehead of this youth, and he will conquer by this sign. And in the temple was a widow, 88 years of age, and she did not depart. But night and day she paid homage unto Elohim and the great Elohim. And when she saw the infant Yeshua, she cried out, you must see and read it for yourself. Emmanuel, our Father, come to visit us. You must see and read it for yourself. The sign of the cross of the Mashiach is on his brow. And then the woman knelt to pay homage unto him as the great Elohim being with us. Emmanuel, the Father, in the age he came to visit us, in the age of enlightenment. But one mother star clothed in white appeared and breathed, excellent woman, stop what you are doing and take notice of what you do. You may not worship a blood of the earth, a man, for this is idolatry. And so this youth is a blood of the earth, the son of a blood of the earth, and worthy of all praise. You must adore and pay homage unto the great Elohim. Him only shall you serve. And so the woman got up and bowed her head in thankfulness and paid homage unto Elohim and the great Elohim. And Mary took the infant Yeshua and returned to Bethlehem. Chapter 5. And beyond the river Euphrates, the Magi lived, and they were wise men and could read the message of the stars. And they determined that a mother star mind, was born. And they saw his star above Jerusalem. And there were three among the Magi Amun priests who longed to see the mother star of the coming golden age of light. And they took expensive gifts, and they hurried toward the west in search of the one of the many, of him, the newborn royal ruler, that they might honor him. And one took gold, the symbol of nobility, another myrrh, the symbol of dominion and of power, and one of gomthus, being frankincense, is what the other took, the symbol of the wisdom of the sage. Now, when the Magi reached Jerusalem, the people were astonished and in great wonder as to who they were and why they had come. And when they asked, "Where is the youth that has been born a royal ruler?" And the very throne of Herod seemed to shake. And Herod sent a courier forth to bring the Magi to his court. And when they came, they asked again, "Where is the newborn royal ruler?" And then they breathed, "While yet beyond the Euphrates, we saw his star rise up, and we have come to honor him." And Herod turned white with fear, and he thought perhaps the Amun priests were plotting to restore the royal domain of the Judeans. And so he said within himself, I need to know more about this youth that has been born a royal ruler. And so he told the Magi, Amun priests, to stay in the city for a while, and he would tell them all about this royal ruler. And he called in council all the Judean mother stars of the pure shelter and the law, and asked what the Judean navigators, original word for prophets, said concerning such a one. And the Judean mother stars answered him and breathed, "The navigators long ago foretold that one would come to rule the tribes of Israel, and that this Moshiach would be born in Bethlehem." And of course, we could take that all the way back to the books of Enoch. Right back then, before the flood, it was written about. Way back. From the beginning. In fact, it was conveyed specifically to Adam and Keva, Adam and Eve. And they breathed. The navigator Micah wrote, "True and perfect Bethlehem, Judah, a little star among the Judean hills. Yet out of you will come forward one to rule my people, Israel. Yeah, one who lived in ancient times, in very ancient times, from the Ancient of Days." Then Herod called the Magi, the Amun priests, again, and he told them what the mother stars of the Judean law had breathed. And then he sent them on their way to Bethlehem. And he breathed, "Go search, and if you find the youth that has been born a royal ruler, return and tell me all about it, that I also may go and honor him." The Magi went their way and found the youth with Mary in the shepherd's home. They honored him and bestowed upon him precious gifts, and they gave him gold and gomthus, the frankincense, and the myrrh. And these Magi, Amun Kolnun priests, could read the hearts of blood of the earth and men. And they read the wickedness of Herod's heart and knew that he had sworn to kill this newborn royal ruler. And so they told the secret of all of this to their parents and of this youth, and bid them to fly away beyond the reach of harm. And then the Amun Kolnun, these priests, went on their homeward way, and they did not go through Jerusalem. And Volshaf, Joseph, took the infant Yeshua and his mother in the night and fled to Mitzrayim, also known as Egypt, the land of the sun. And with Elihu and Shalomeh in ancient Zoan, they stayed. Chapter 6. One more. Oh, we got a question from Anna here. Okay. But who exactly were the three magi? Okay. And they were Persians, and they were um, most likely following the Mithraic tradition, Mithraism, founded by Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, and so they also believed in one deity, and that's why, and so they were of the same culture that Cyrus, the king of Persia, was of, and therefore that's why when Cyrus conquered Babylon, he let the tribe of Judah go back to Jerusalem, because they all recognize the play of the one deity, and the all-encompassing. And so there was a very similar parallel between Mithraism and the tradition that Judah was a part of, and also Mithraism is very similar as well to what we call Christianity today. Very many parallels, though more primitive. So we're talking about Persian wise men, and they were also, see, this is the great enigma. Think of the irony here, that we've got three men coming from a foreign land, I guess a few hundred miles. I don't know the exact distance, but a long journey on camel, and they're coming looking for the royal ruler who was born, to be the ruler of the world, the savior of the world. And so let's ask the question: did anybody in Jerusalem go and pay homage unto the ruler of the world, the Moshiach, who the tribe of Israel, the Hebrew race, had been looking for from the beginning of their inception? Did any of them go and bow down and worship him and give gifts? No, no one, other than foreigners from a foreign state who were also waiting for the Moshiach, because the ancient cultures all knew the story, unless they were lied to, unless it was ripped out of their history. But they were all waiting for the one who would come, the most primitive cultures. Okay? It was an open secret. And they all recognized that Jerusalem was the center of the earth, a 0 point of the one deity, the one God, to use the Eastern, Okay, you're saying a note here, Naughty Beater's video. If I remember right, he suggested that the three Magi were Anunnaki representatives, according to no, that's all a bunch of nonsense, okay? Forgive me, okay? But everybody tries to invent, this Anunnaki thing. It's all, comes from Zechariah Stitchin, and it's all a fabrication and a mistranslation, and been well proved. I mean, the dictionary of the Sumerian script has been put on the internet to prove that Stitchin was way off base. And I even did defined the word in a full page presentation. It's on my other computer now. I don't have it, but no, we have to get back to scriptures. Get back to scriptures, because the scriptures are telling the story, and history. Real simple. This stuff about Anunnaki, all pulled out of thin air. Okay, that cannot be proven. But the history of the Magi, and it's coming up in the story, by the way. It's coming up. Anna, thank you. That was a good question. So, okay, so continuing, and we have to keep asking questions. That's the way we get answers, But for some reason, people are looking like to planet, what is it, Nibru, and they're saying that there's a civilization that lives on the planet, and they come around every so often, and they harvest people from planet Earth and all this craziness. Who with a thinking mind can't reason that it's impossible that there would be life on a planet surrounded by iron oxide with a dwarf star that doesn't give off enough heat and light, and that it goes way out there in outer space and comes back every, it's amazing. The Illuminazis are the one who create these stories to get us off point and divert it into all other types of nonsensical stuff. We have to go back to the original scriptures. We have to stay with the scriptures and the lost writings. Why did they steal them from us? Why didn't we get them in our received script? Why is the 27 teeny weeny little letters of Paul and James and John and the small gospels, these 27 little letters, all brought together, is the smallest collection of religious writings for any spiritual tradition on earth. The smallest. How could it be that we have the smallest collection of spiritual letters of any tradition that is a religion, right? It's an impossibility. And the truth is, we had a library. And the library was in Syria, in Caesarea. And then it was taken over and stolen by Constantine the Great, who wasn't great at all. And he, then put it all in the basement there in the Library of Sophia. Okay, we were robbed, ladies and gentlemen. And so this has been a long journey for me, but Yeshua is the one who reveals. Okay, and so we have to hear, what we haven't heard before, and that's in the Lost Writings. That's why I'm reading this. That is why you're going to hear about these wise men. You're going to know them. You're going to know their names, and you're going to know that Yeshua went to visit them when he was 21 years old, after he came out of Tibet. Okay, he was up in Tibet for 3 years, I believe it was, because he was making the rounds. He left Jerusalem when he was 14 years old. And that's why when we hear the story in our Gospels, and they say, "Who is this guy? Isn't his mother Mary and Joseph his father? Isn't that who that guy is? Because they didn't know him. He was gone. He had been gone for a decade and more. Okay, he had been gone, and so because he was visiting all the ancient cultures, it said that he could interpret their scriptures better than they could. He was there to bring light. All the ancient cultures of that primary part of the world were looking for the Redeemer to come. Okay, finish up one more chapter here. Now, when the Magi, the Amen Conum Prius, did not return to tell Herod of the youth that had been born the royal ruler, King Herod was enraged. And then his courtiers told him of another youth that was born in Bethlehem, one born to go before him and to prepare the people to receive the royal ruler. And this angered even more and more the king. And he called his guards and he bid them to go to Bethlehem and slay the infant Yochanan as well as Yeshua, who was born to be the royal ruler. And he breathed, "Let no mistake be made among you, and that you may be sure to slay these claimants to my throne. Slay every male child in the town not yet 2 years of age." And so most people don't know that when they claim the age of somebody in that ancient culture, they also include the first year in the womb. And I always thought that was strange that he would kill, like a 2-year-old, because it just didn't fit, And then I learned that they count the first year in the belly, and also, I guess, the seed in the man. We know it's 9 months in the woman, so 3 months in the man. So that's the first year. And so this, according to our reckoning, then the children that were killed were of 1 year old or younger. Okay, and that makes sense. So they were basically just beyond the age of infant, being a true infant. Okay, so the guards went out and did as Herod had bid them to do. I've got a cough. Hang on, I'm going to mute this for a second. Thank you. I'm still not working. Hang on. Let me take a sip. And so the guards went out and did exactly as he told them to do. and Elizabeth knew that Herod sought to slay her son, and she and Elkanah John were in Bethlehem. But when she knew this, um, she then took the infant Elkanah and hurried to the hills. And the murderous guards were nearby, and they were close behind her, getting close. But then she knew the secret caves in all the hills, and into one of them she ran and hid herself and Elkanah until the guards were gone. Their cruel task was done. The guards returned and told the story to the king, and they said, "We know that we have slain the infant king, but Elkanah, his harbinger, we could not find." And the king was angry with his guards because they failed to slay the infant Elkanah, and he sent them to the tower in chains. That'll teach you for serving Herod. Sent him to the tower in chains. And other guards were sent to Zechariah. I love those order takers, don't you? You know, always willing to take orders. And they ultimately will get what they're due also. And other guards were sent to Zechariah, the father of the harbinger, while he was serving in the only true anointed pure place, and say to him, "The king demands that you will tell where your son is." But Zechariah did not know. And he replied, "I am a little star of the great Elohim, a seraph of the only true anointed pure place. So how could I know where they have taken him?" And when the guards returned and told the king that what Zechariah breathed, he was enraged and said, "My guards, go back and tell that clever almond priest that he is in my hands, and that if he does not tell the truth, does not reveal the hiding place of Elkanah, his son, then he will die." And the guards went back and told the Amen Konun priest just what the king had said. And Zechariah breathed, "I have given my entire life for the truth. And if the king, in spite of this, does not goes and sheds my blood, then the great Elohim will redeem my soul." And the guards again returned and told the king what Zechariah breathed. Now, Zechariah was standing before the altar of the only true anointed pure place of light, engaged in the creation of light. And a guard approached and with a dagger thrust him through. And he fell and he died before the curtain of the sanctuary, the inner sanctum of the great Yahweh. And when the hour of salutation came for Zechariah's daily endowed and enlightened the almond priests, he didn't come. And after waiting a very long time, the almond priests went into the only true anointed pure place and found the body of the dead. And there was grief and deep grief and mourning in all the land. Now Herod sat in his throne, and he didn't even seem to move. And his court officials came over to him and found that the king was dead, and therefore his son then reigned in his stead. And so we're on coming up next on section 3. Gimel. There's the third letter of the alphabet right there. Each section represents a letter of the alphabet, showing the pure origin of this document. And the third letter is Gimel, and they changed it to the word camel with a C. Gimel also implies camel, but there's where they did the switch out. They took out the G and put the C, and this is on some of the back issues that I have done, okay, that you can go check out. And so we'll be tomorrow in section 7, and this is where I really, begin to enjoy the read, because I'm really into the philosophy. I'm into the seed planting, which is the word for teaching, the seed planting, and so looking forward to the moment when they're in Egypt. Mare, Elizabeth, and Yosef, with Elkanah, John, and Yeshua, Jesus, are in Zoan, in Mitzrayim, misnomered as Egypt, and then they received the seed planting, the teaching from Shalome and Elihu, and it is some of the most beautiful. It's a few chapters of some of the most beautiful expressions of truth that you would want to hear, ladies and gentlemen. So okay. So with that, I sure appreciate everybody tuning in today and stopping by, and I hope that you know, friends are doing well around our planet here. We've got a real international audience. We have a friend in Germany and Brazil and Australia and other parts of the world that we probably don't know yet. And so I hope that that you're finding value in this presentation, and that you're seeing things that you have not seen before. You're certainly hearing things I know that you haven't heard before. If you want to get a copy of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary or the Book of Wisdom that was written by the great uncle of Yeshua, Jesus, Joseph of Arimathea, Volshaf of Ramtha, or the Original Thought Translation Project, a sample of the original gospel work I'm doing with the dictionary attached, the most current version of the dictionary. You haven't seen anything if you haven't seen these works. I just asked for any size donation for any one of those works. If you want to make a sizable donation, I'll send you all three. And if you don't have any funny money, I'll send it to you anyway if you can't afford a donation. But we want to get this. Thank you, Anna, for your kind thoughts. Okay, and I'm inspired by all of you. I wouldn't be able to read this if you didn't come here. Because I can't read to no listeners. I have to think that somebody's hearing this. It's hard. It's a lot of energy to put it out, but it's very satisfying for me because if I don't share, then shame on me. If I don't, Yeshua gave me a talent, a big one, and the talent is laced with the knowledge of our eternal nature, of our exoteric history, of our past that has been sliced and diced and fried and fricasseed and handed to us on a platter and said, "Here, go eat this." And it's all a lot of hogwash. So it is possible to know a thing, to know that we can know that we can know. Okay, and if you want to support your health, I know a lot of friends, my age are toughing it out, and yes, everybody here is wonderful, and thank you for that thought. So go to this website, okay, and you can get some health product, and also it has an opportunity for those who need another way to make additional revenue. They have weekly pay, big upfront commissions when people buy product off your website. You get a free website. Okay, you have your own health food store. It's a tax write-off, by the way. Okay, so go to this. This is one of our friends, and when you join, we also put you on a 3x5 card, and we'll read your website on our broadcast, and we put people in a lead share program. So we ask you that, for assignment, if you want to call us, we'll place you under one of our friends. We like to do one each time. We put everybody on a 3x5 card. When they get a sign up, we put them at the bottom of the pile and rotate. And we want to help people, our friends, for supporting the broadcast. We want to support our friends. So go to this website, Live Free 2. That's Live, Live, and then Free, Free, one word, and then a number 2, one digit, number 2, livefree2.basicreset.com. That's livefree2.basicreset.com, ladies and gentlemen, and you can support your health. Fred Kaufman, the owner, knew the secret to helping his mother escape brain cancer. I don't want to use certain words because we're not allowed to in regard to this, but you know what I'm saying. Regeneration is the philosophy. The alkaline state of the body, the environment is crucial to turning around bad conditions like cancer. Okay, so he did it for his mom. She's still alive today, 20 years later, and he formed a health company that has the products that are there when you take them together in tandem will regenerate your health. Okay, regeneration. It's the body that heals itself. It just needs the tools and the tools are there. So check out the website. And if you want to get involved, you can sign up on that website there if you don't want to call. But if you want to call, then we'll sign you to the next friend, as well, because we're trying to help everybody out while we support the broadcast. All right. So don't forget tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to this evening, the Forbidden History series with the great lies of history and more words that kill and a whole lot more. Okay. Hopefully we'll have some callers. And you're always welcome to call off air or on air, 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. I know many of our friends out there are suffering their own types of persecution and challenges. So I wanted a program where we can talk on the phone and call in because we get to know each other better that way. And then we can know that, we are indeed friends, just like thank you, Debbie, for your thoughts. Always love listening. But real people do want to connect and know each other because in these hard times, any one of us could be needing help, and we want to be there to help these friends. Not cyber friendship, but real friendship and real sharing of our thoughts and feelings and our desire to serve the great Father of Light, Yeshua, the Mashiach, okay, Jesus the Christ in the Western thought, and that's okay because we progressively grow and learn as we go. And so just don't forget this, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know the future, then you need to look for the Forbidden History right here on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in. We'll see you later this evening. Be safe.